we're here because we believe in creativity and we want to advocate for the children that are going into society. And I have to say personally, just thank you for that. Thank you for that. That rocks. That rocks. So my name's Jaz. I'm going to be helping us run to time tonight. Kicking off very shortly with Nick. So I just want to say welcome. As a child growing up in foster care, I wasn't that bothered about long division, but the teachers who took their time to stand with me and taught me about creativity changed, transformed my life, and that's why I'm here today. I know we've all got a story. I look forward to hearing yours, but for now, we're going to boogie.
You see?
3.
You see?
2.
You see?
1.
You see?
Now we come to the payoff.
These are people from Barclays Bank. Barclays Digital Eagles working with STEAMco over the last year to power communities to inspire children with creativity. Thank you, Barclays, for having us here tonight. Here's Dave Gowans showing the microbit at our event in Sunderland, where one of his colleagues taught 200 children to code the BBC microbit. Here we are at the opening of the Barclays Eagle Lab down in Brighton, a space that the public can go into and use this equipment and run activities and workshops and learn to code.
With everything that's going on in this digital world, actually your work out is just all about people at the end of the day.
It's not just about money, it's about people. And what we're doing today is connecting. A lot of people want to know what this kind of blue sky thing's all about. There's a lot of talk about traditional education versus progressive education. There's a lot of talk about left brain thinking and right brain thinking. There's a lot of black versus white talking. We say enough of all this extreme thinking. Let's get some middle ground. Let's do some blue sky thinking. And it was the blue sky that inspired us to do this tonight. How many of you have seen the Ken Robinson TED Talk? Quite a few of you. You've probably read the books. And a journalist last year wrote a review of that book. And he said, I've read this book, you don't need to read it. It's rubbish. Ken Robinson is like a butcher doing a ticker tape parade for the National Union of Pigs, is how that journalist described Ken Robinson. I rest my case. Ken Robinson doesn't, everything he says is right, not everything's wrong. We need some middle ground. And this is about bringing people together who believe in our future, a future of creativity, a connection economy where we connect each other and we work together, as you're going to see tonight. A year ago, last year, I met one of the most amazing people of my life. I met him, I saw him on stage. I just can't believe that he's come here tonight to talk to us. He's probably the busiest man in show business, whether you call what he does show business or not. He was on the FA Cup on Saturday, and I stopped everything to watch that. He was absolutely incredible. I saw him at a school headmasters conference in Manchester last year. A school came out and did some singing, and we got a Wembley wave going. We had a standing ovation. I would like you to give this man the warmest welcome to the 30th floor of Barclays he's ever seen. I want you to blow the roof off for this amazing man here, Lemn Sissay. Thank you very much.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you very much, Nick. Hey, so today I was thank you, that's really kind of you. Sorry, learn to take your applause, Lem. You know what I mean? Learn to take your applause. Stop saying sorry, etc., etc. So today this morning I was teaching a group of kids for BBC proms in East London, in West London, in Shepherd's Bush. And it was an incredible workshop. One young girl said, you're the you're the key to the sunlight of my morning. No, you're the key that unlocks the sunlight of my morning. She was 12 years old, and I was trying to get her to find an image which describes the love that she has for a person. And I talked about pushing the image beyond the first thing, which is you're the sun in the morning. And she got to, you're the key that unlocks the sun of my morning. An incredible development in her. When we did a photograph at the end of the workshop, it was also being filmed for the proms, which I'll be presenting in whenever. When we did the film, all these kids were home tutored, and one of them stood next to me as I was sat, and you'll see it on Twitter, the picture, and he said, "You smell of chicken." It was utterly inappropriate. You smell of chicken. No, to him I smelt of chicken, and that was fine. When I went into, I did punish him, of course. How dare he? How dare he overstep the marks in such a way? I punished him properly. I mean, it was utterly inappropriate what he said, and more importantly, where he said it. So when I went into children's homes at the age of 12, it's a story which is on YouTube, or wherever it is, it happened. And the first thing I needed was the last thing I got, and it was a hug. The institution had built everything to feed itself. It fed itself with a house, it fed itself with staff that managed the house, with a budget that managed the house that the staff were in, with a budget that managed the clothes that the staff would buy for the children. I immediately knew that the first thing I wanted, being the last thing that I got, meant that I was in an utterly insecure and incredibly dangerous environment, not because I didn't get a hug, but because it wasn't acknowledged that me not getting a hug would have a massive effect on me. That the actual underlying nature of being a child in a children's home is that you will not be touched by any of the adults who tell you they care for. That the staff who are in the children's homes will say to you, "I'm in this job because I love children." But in my 18 years in the care system of being a child of the state, they never said, "I'm in this job because I love you." They never put it in first person. The institution fed itself really well. It would even, as it does now, give itself evaluation forms to work out how well it had been serving the child. It would even ask the child to feed back to it so it could make itself better for another child, who it will give an evaluation form to feed back to the parent, the legal parent of a child in the care system. To feed back to it, to tell it where it's gone wrong, missing the simple fact that the child has not been touched and that the person who gives the evaluation form is the one that the child ultimately wants to impress. What I am saying is that the building of a massive institution to serve a purpose can often forget the most important thing that that purpose was originally set up for, and that is care. That is maybe not the touch. But if you were to take the hug away from your child, maybe you would think, how can I compensate for that child not having that? And therefore, the care system was built on the basis of right and wrong, the binary opposite. Therefore, if I did anything wrong, this is why David Cameron's speaking about this at this moment in time, if I did anything wrong, I would see the institution suddenly know itself. Kids in care are bad, aren't they? People even say to children in care, if you're naughty, I'll put you in the children's home. People used to say that we were bad. Nobody wanted a children's home at the bottom of the street. We were children, and we were living proof that the function of family is its dysfunction, that's actually part of it, that family is a great PR company for itself, selling itself to the outside world as a perfect place, and yet knowing that it was fundamentally flawed and at any point could blow apart because of Uncle Eric. Dysfunction is part of our family life, and the child in care is proof of it. That's why we've been disliked for years. Dickens knew about it. Harry Potter foster child, it's not Dickens, obviously, Oliver Twist, David Copperfield, James and the Giant Peach, Moses, freaking Moses, a real person that is, Moses, adopted, Lisbeth Salander, the girl with the dragon tattoo, does exactly what I've done. That's prove what happened to me in the past, because when I left the care system, I realized that no one person could track all of the things that happened to me, and that all family is a group of people proving that each other exists over a lifetime. All family is a set of disputed memories between one group of people over a lifetime. And the only reason I knew of that is because I didn't have it. Most people know of that because they have a child themselves and the penny starts to drop and they think about apologizing to the mother because they understand now, but they don't. But that's another story. The point is that the only thing that can connect some of these things that are missing right at the heart of the institution of children's services is creativity. It is based on the feeling that that child had, or that children have. By the way, I'm not sharing my story with you for therapy, you know what I mean? I'm good. I'm good. Therapy is therapy. And it's a good thing, but that's not what this is. This is sharing you a story to enlighten you to the fact that an institution is built that misses one of the most important aspects of why it was built in the first place. And how is it that that can happen? Because institutions start to feed themselves, and they start to feel like the more they're feeding themselves, the better they must be doing. A child who's brought up in a children's home is parented by the government. The government is the legal parent of a child who goes into the care system. Therefore, we should be able to judge our government based on how well it treats the child in its care as we would a parent. And we don't lobby for the kid in care. We are looking for them to do wrong. We are reading about, there's no coincidence that Rotherham has happened, Jimmy Savile happened, that all of these things happen because these kids are fodder. Because nobody else is pointing the finger and saying, wait, they're mine. Even David Cameron said before the Queen's speech that, these kids in care are having a bad time, we need to look after them. They're in his care. The negating of responsibility is the easiest thing to do so that those children slip under the cracks. A parent will say to its child, whatever it's done, you're brilliant. You are brilliant. You're a pain in the ass, but you're brilliant. Come here for a hug. I'm not going to hug you, not right now, just so you know. The power of suggestion for the child in care is that there's the prison, there's the remand centre, and there are the police. So it's the power of suggestion, something that happens in families. I'm going to stop. I know there were things that I was going to say. One of them is that I need water. One of them is that I run a thing called the Christmas. Oh, it's there. Thanks. I run a thing called the Christmas dinner. The worst day for a child in care often is Christmas. It's when everybody goes back to their own families and their own dysfunctions. And they're just left to compound the memories of the years before. It's when they leave care. I set up the Christmas dinner by going into any community, any city, and saying, I want to get 15 people around a table. I want 5 creatives. I want 10 people from the social services. I want all of them to be doing it for free, no money. I want to raise money for them, and I will not establish an organization or a charity. Okay? I don't want this to be an organization or a charity or for there to be a boss or accountability to anybody except for the group, and there is no boss of the group. First time I did it was in Manchester. It's incredible. Go on YouTube and see what the kids say about it. The second year, Manchester and Hackney. The third year, Manchester, Hackney and Leeds. And it is continuing. We can do, and the main reason about that is that it has creatives around the table that get in the way of somebody saying, actually, we've got an assessment centre. Why don't we have the Christmas do there? So the creatives will go, no, there's a cafe in Islington and they'll make it available on Christmas Day. We get volunteers, travel, we get presents, brilliant, iPads, blah, everything. The money's looked after by a charity, but we're not a charity. It's crowdfunded very deliberately because I want people out there to see that they can help the child in care rather than be judgmental when they read the papers about either what they've done or what's been done to them. They can take part in the process. They can be part of the solution. You know, creatives can find things. When I was in care, you know, I had my entire family taken away from me. And I've done 2 interviews today, one with The Guardian, on The Guardian Family, and one with Daily Mail Money. The Daily Mail Money is a 1,200-word article where she was asking me about my money story. And she said her first question was, who taught you about money and what do you know about money? And I said, nothing. Nobody taught me about money. I left the children's homes at 18 with the head of Wigan Social Services saying he is not going to have a penny from us to my social worker. I got my files only 4 weeks ago. And my social worker's letters in there saying, we've looked after this child for 18 years and you're going to let him go for the rest of his life and you're not going to give him a carpet in the flat that he's got. So that's where my money story has gone from to here. But what has carried me is creativity. I'm a writer, I'm a poet, I read poetry all over the world. I did the Left Field album, Leftism. It was an era. I do stuff. It's a good thing. You can see that none of this talk was constructed, except for to say that that kid who said, you smell like chicken, I could have just exploded. It was so beautiful. And I wish when I went into care that I could have said, this smells like bleach. Thanks a lot. I mean, actual bleach. That's not a metaphor.
Lemn Sissay. Lemn Sissay, everybody.
If I'd have got my speech techniques right, I could have done my 1, 2, 3s, and you'd have been like, I'd have had you in the, you know, but I didn't. I ended on a, I could have ended on a, oh.
Is it true to say that Lem's among friends?
Well, you know, yeah.
Come on, is it true to say that Lem's among friends?
Well, no, I know.
Lem said an amazing thing in Manchester about business leaders. What was that, Lem?
No. What I was saying was what I was saying was that actually people speak of great business leaders as creative in how they solve problems. They speak of mothers and fathers as creative about how they solve problems. Creativity is not the monopoly of artists. It's really important to know. You know, I believe, I say to the young people when the parents panic because they think their kids want to be a poet, I say, you can be a businessman and a poet, you can be a lawyer and a poet, you can be a doctor and a poet. It's true, or a painter. Creativity actually feeds you.
Wow.
Blah, blah. Sorry.
Should we all go home now? That was such a strong line. Lem said that in Manchester last year about creative people who run companies as being seen as creative. It's hard to imagine that a bank would commit resource to converting old buildings into maker spaces where people can go and use 3D printers, can use CNC laser cutters, can run community meetings, can do coding. My son, a couple of weeks ago, went down to High Street Kensington branch of Barclays and had a coding class. Didn't teach him anything I hadn't, but not to worry. We've printed 5,000 of these newspapers, and I'd like you to all take 20 home. I'm not taking any home. You promise, Marva, you're going to take 20 home? The first page is an article about Barclays Bank. In 1825, Barclays Bank funded the first ever steam railway, the Stockton-Darlington Railway. In 2016, they collaborated on the steam revolution, the STEAM revolution, STEM with an A. Lemn Sissay has just shown us why we spell STEM with an A. And I'd like you to welcome Ashok to stage now, who's the CEO of Barclays. This is a guy who somehow keeps shareholders fairly happy, certainly keeps the community happy. Ashok, will you come and say a few words for us, please?
My God, that sounds like the complete setup, right? I'm never ever going to speak after you. I always go before you. But as a team, and I wish I could take credit for it, a lot of other people have done all the heavy lifting. But as a team over the last 4 or 5 years, I think we at Barclays have been on a journey. And that journey started in the summer of 2012. In the summer of 2012, when London was celebrating maybe what is its finest moments with the Olympics, we were going through a very, very difficult time. That was the time when the so-called LIBOR scandal broke. And I thought, hey, look, what has LIBOR got to do with me or my customers? Most of my customers only deal in Great British pounds. LIBOR is something completely alien. Who really cares? And what I figured out was that my customers cared. My customers all thought that Ben, who was their cashier, and Susie, who was their relationship manager in the branches, were fabulous people. They even bought candy. I promise you, they bought candy and cakes to many of our branches. But they universally thought that everybody in this building is a crook, right? Is a dishonest person, is somebody not to be trusted, right? And that hurt. I promise you that hurt. And that hurt because when I look around and I walk around this building and I look in my colleagues' eyes and I look into the white of their eyes and say, is this person really a crook? Is this person really somebody I can't trust? And the answer always comes back, of course you can trust this person. So what happened? What happened? What broke down in this whole relationship? And that was a soul searching that we went through in that summer. And through that soul searching, a couple of things, very simple truths started to emerge. The first truth that started to emerge is society is equal to customers plus prospects. And if you start thinking of society equal to customers plus prospects, and you say, look, I'm here to getting it right by customers, and obviously I want more customers, and a customer before being a customer is a prospect, I need to get it right by society. So if I get it right by society, everything else falls into place. So what can I get right by society? What should be my overall goal, and how do I get it right by society? And as we started thinking more about it, and spent time over the winters thinking about this, we realized that, my God, this digital revolution is just huge. This digital revolution is huge. Should we really be teaching our kids a third language, a third traditional language like Latin or Greek or something like that? Or should we be teaching our kids coding, right? And as we started, thank you, I agree with that. And as we started thinking more about this, we realized that every time there have been such profound revolutions, like the Industrial Revolution or the Agricultural Revolution, a lot of people get left behind. And we said, this time around, we are committed to leaving no one behind. Whether it's that kid, like your son who came into our branches to teach them coding, whether Kirsty with her life skills program, and Kirsty is here someplace, she's put together a program that helps young adults move from the school place to the workplace, which is about the most difficult decisions that young adults have to make. Today, 2.5 million young adults have gone through the life skills program. Ordinary people like me and you who worry and are scared of technology, if we can be shown how technology can be used, it can be made much, much, much easier. So Stephen Roberts launched the Digital Eagles program. And the Digital Eagles program started with us trying to teach our own colleagues about the technology that we were developing. And then they said, why are you stopping us? Why can't we go teach customers? And they do teach sessions with God knows how many customers all over the country. Today, we have 26,000 Digital Eagles. Technology for the sake of technology is interesting. Technology that changes people's lives, empowers people, is far, far, far better. The fastest growing age community in this country is the plus 60 age segment. And automatically at 45, you start wearing glasses. It just happens by magic. At 50, 55, you walk into a hotel room, and if you're trying to go for a shower, you're trying to figure out which is shampoo and conditioner. Right? At my age, when I go to restaurants, I hate it when it's dark. I can't read the menu. It is very hard. People at my age love the iPad. Why? Because you can pinch and make the font bigger, right? And therefore, technology that helps people who've got just difficulties, to vulnerabilities, to severe disabilities. Now that's what technology is all about, right? So how can we help people who've got visual impairment, who've got hearing problems, who've got mobility issues, and if we can really make that, we are not going to leave them behind. How do we help small businesses? Make sure that they can take advantage of this whole digital revolution and get ahead. And how can we use the power of information to help large companies really make the next step? This time around, we are committed to leaving no one behind, right? And the beauty of this is it links in beautifully with meeting the needs of society, right down to the business model. So we don't have a CSR program. This is our business model. And this is how it delivers for the shareholders, right? And then as we've been thinking about it for the last 12 months or so, digital inclusion is only the beginning. Digital inclusion is only the beginning. What is even more powerful, it's all about digital empowerment. It's all about digital empowerment because today, with technology, you can democratize resources, you can democratize knowledge, and you can democratize scalability. And if you can do that, you can build the largest company providing jobs, satisfaction, so many other things. The world is honestly the oyster. And that's why we are so excited about doing stuff with people like Nick and Steve and company, where not only are they bringing in those kind of skills, but also unleashing the power of art, creativity. That's what it's all about. It's all about getting that one idea and trying. And if it don't work first time, try again. Because sooner or later, if you've got the persistence, it'll work. It's all about this time we will leave no one behind. And we are excited in being on this journey. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Ashok there talks about community, and I'm not going to thank Ashok. I've got a very special person to come and thank Ashok, and that's the lady who runs the school, one of our trustees. Can you clap for Ray, please?
Hi, everybody. Normally when I take an assembly, I don't use a microphone, so I'm a little bit not used to this. I found what you said so very, very inspiring. I love that there is this recognition about the power of art and creativity to really connect us as a human race and as human beings. And I think there's some amazing connections that are being made this evening in this room. So we are very, very grateful to you for this really amazing opportunity. And I wonder, colleagues and friends and artists and creatives, if you could join me in applauding as a vote of thanks to Ashok, please. Thank you.
One of the things with Steamco Days, equipment, resources, inspiration, bits and pieces. A lot of schools don't have this specialist equipment. We're going to hear tonight from Marva. Marva has to wash clothes and feed her children at the start of days to get those kids through the day. She hasn't got money for the luxury. She says creativity is a luxury. So who on earth has Marva got £500 to buy one of these to roll newspapers into sticks? Darcy Turner makes these things, £550. What we're doing is we're looking for companies to pay for what we call pop-up Steamco kits, almost like a UN survival kit that gets helicoptered into Tottenham, or helicoptered into an estate in the middle of Cornwall, or gets helicoptered into Northumbria, so that the community can pick this kit up and go and inspire their children with creativity. And the Ashok's team have paid for one of these kits to go out there for the first pop-up Steamco Days. We've got some guys here from your favourite store, a digital agency in Shoreditch, who are closing for the day, and they're going to go down to a school in Tower Hamlets in the shadow of this building, and they're going to inspire those kids with creativity, because not every school is as cosy as my school in Paddington. Not every school's got parents they can draw on. I went to a school in Darlington and said, oh, you want to get your parents in? She said, I can't get 6 signed off to be governors on DBS. I wish it was funny, and I know why you laugh, because it's embarrassing. It's shocking. So, Ashok, we also bought 20 ukuleles off Amazon, and they didn't deliver. We actually bought 21, because we got one for you, and we're going to send it to you. So thank you very much. Staying with Cambridge, I can't believe my life is a journey on the sea of serendipity, and I met another amazing lady who you're going to hear from now, Professor Pam Burnard, who's Professor of Creativities at Cambridge University. So let's get Pam Burnard up on stage, everybody, please, to tell us what she thinks of all this stuff.
Look at the person next to you. Look at the person, look. After I've spoken for 2 minutes, can you tell them what are the boundaries that you're pushing? What are the boundaries you're pushing? What are the boundaries that you're not only pushing, but you're breaking in your professional learning communities? I'm going to talk for 1 minute and 50 seconds about creativity. I'm going to talk about creativities, yours and the people that you're working with, and particularly children. Thinking about reformulating what we think creativities are, thinking about boundary pushing, thinking about leaping into the unknown and making a splash. Yes, a metaphor for impact. What splash are you making in your work with proactively leaping forward, taking risks? These are all important aspects that we don't work with children enough, thinking about generating radical leaps. We heard some before, radical leaps. It takes a lot of courage to take a radical leap. It takes a lot of courage to take a leap. And what are you leaping into? Thinking about your own practice. Look at the person on your left this time, and later tell them the last time that you were in or out of your comfort zone. In or out of your comfort zone. When does it create momentum? Later. See, they're desperate to talk about their own creativity. How often do we ask our children, the children that we work with, the young people we work with, what does creativity mean to you? How many creativities are you engaging with in your worlds? And think about the splash that they're making in their life. And so then we look at the question of a mind. And we're filled with a room with minds, with powerful minds, just like children and young people have very powerful minds. A mind that is stretched by a new experience can never go back to its old dimensions. Stretching young people. I'm actually involved in research into creativities, and we've won money to put together a research commission that's looking at STEAM education, and we're looking at creative pedagogies for the 21st century. And we're looking at creative pedagogies teaching STEAM, using STEAM as a way to work and learn and teach. And we're finding that 21st century, thank you, learning needs to be messy, it needs to be unpredictable, it needs to be busy, just like this room. It needs to be inspirational, just like this man. It needs to be a mashup, a splash up, a leap forward and backwards. You've got to take risks, and you've got to allow people that you're working with to take risks, to invent, to create, to collaborate. For that to happen, boundaries need to be transcended. They need to be smashed. They need not to be pushed. It's not enough to push boundaries. You've got to break them. Thank you.
Nice work. Wow. Pam Burnard. I rather cheekily clap, well not cheekily, my part, and I'll clap if I want to, at something that Ashok said earlier, talking about coding. Nick Gibb in Parliament said the other day that the government now has a policy that every key stage of UK education has coding as a compulsory item. So why doesn't my son have coding in his school, in his secondary school? Tony Parkin knows the answer. It's because it's an academy. They don't have to do what the government tell everybody else to do. My son's school does not do coding classes. It's Ofsted outstanding. It's absolutely outrageous. I'd like to get somebody up on the stage now. We've got a gap, actually, very sad bit of news, and I'm sure she's watching. Nishma, which camera's live? That one there. Nishma, if you're at home, big wave. Poor Nishma's little child fell, and she was worried that there was a breakage. She did the right thing. She went home. She's not here tonight. She made a small film. She sent some slides. I'm not going to put it on tonight, Nishma. Sorry, I promised I would, but I'm not going to do it tonight. Sorry, we'll stick it on the YouTube channel just for you, and we'll sell some ads around it. I'd like to get somebody up, but we need to get this show on the road. We'll speed things up a little bit. Amazing guy coming up now who was at SSAT last year. He's now at the Sixth Form College Association. STEAMCO is about engaging community across the board. It's about getting carers, parents, businesses, secondary children, sixth form children. Do you know you get Ofsted Outstanding? Well, you won't get Ofsted Outstanding if your sixth form is not demonstrating collaboration in its community. Not many people know that. Big warm round of applause, please, for an incredible speaker. Incredible speaker. Where is he? Bill Watkin. There he is.
Hello. Good evening. Almost exactly a year ago today, the government announced that all secondary school pupils would have to follow the English back subjects. That essentially means that English, maths, science, history or geography and a language compulsory for everybody, which is fine, all part of a raising standards rigor agenda. But if you make a lot of subjects compulsory, there are some subjects that are going to be hit. And which subjects are going to be hit? Well, not surprisingly, it's RE, PE, vocational curriculum, technologies, and the arts. And it means that you end up with a hierarchy of subjects where some subjects matter more than others. So at the moment, maths matters more than anything else. Maths and English matter more than all the other subjects that don't really matter, except the English back subjects that matter slightly more than the ones that really, really don't matter. Except in the ones that really, really, really don't matter, some matter slightly more than others. So engineering matters less than the English back subjects, but more than all the ones that really, really don't matter. And somewhere down here, you've got music, art, and drama. Churchill said an interesting thing in the Second World War. Churchill gathered the cabinet around him during the war. He said, do we need to raise more funds for tanks and planes and ammunition? And one of the ministers turned to him and said, well, we could cut the arts grant. And there was a pause, a moment's silence, and Churchill turned to him and he said, well, what's it all for then? Here's an interesting piece of research. What are the skills and attributes most highly valued by employers, and which area of the curriculum best delivers the skills and attributes most highly valued by employers and their new recruits? Do you want to have a guess? Drama. Here's another interesting piece of research. 3 Russell Group universities, all offering an undergraduate law degree. Which A-level subject was the most useful for successful applicants getting a place on a law degree in a Russell Group university? Drama. So we've got the national curriculum with students studying all these subjects, except there is no national curriculum drama. It doesn't exist at all. Music, we've taken out all references to ideas and feelings in music. And you might not know this, but 5-year-olds have to be able to play an untuned instrument. My experience of 5-year-olds is that it's sometimes hard to tell if the instrument's been tuned or not. In art, we've taken out all references to creativity and imagination. That's gone from the national curriculum now, and there is no Key Stage 1 national curriculum. That's been cut, presumably because little children can't do it properly. But you will be reassured to know that when you start Key Stage 2 at age 7, you go straight into mastery of drawing, painting, and sculpture. It's not all about exam results, not all about rigor in academic subjects, of course. I heard a lovely thing said by the headmaster of an independent boys' school in the West Country. He was asked 130 years ago what it was he was trying to achieve in his life, and he said, what I want is for the boys to leave my school such that they are acceptable in a dance and invaluable in a shipwreck. I have 3 children, none of whom are either of those things, and I'd quite like them all to be both. Thank you very much.
I just want to say, are you with me? What an amazing speaker. If that's somebody who needs a 5-minute TED talk, I don't know who does. We're going to have the last talk now before the breakouts. And the idea for the breakouts, this is an amazing, amazing space. It's like when I was about sort of 30 years younger, I used to go clubbing, all these tables with marble tops and sort of see-through glass walls and stuff. You're in the same club as me. What we're going to do, if the speakers don't mind, for people who've been here, I don't know if Lem's got to dash off, he had to catch a train, but we're going to get the speakers to go and sit in those little rooms just for about 10, 15 minutes, have a little huddle, chance to get to know them, ask a few questions personally, don't mob any but one person. 10, 15 minutes to get a drink, bit of a huddle, then we'll come back. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce somebody who's very, very special to me. I met 20 years ago in Mallorca, just having a coffee. And I called him about 6 months ago and I said, look, you're a famous musician. Could you do me a favor? I'm trying to get famous creatives together to inspire kids, to inspire parents, to inspire communities. Fancy coming to Sunderland? Go on then, send me a ticket. So I bloody had a ticket before we put the phone down. Amazing guy. I'd like to invite to the stage Martyn Ware, who in Sunderland did an amazing talk about David Bowie. Tonight he's just going to talk for 2 minutes about the amazing work that he's doing now. It's going to be short. He's going to have a huddle. Martyn Ware, everybody, please. Big round of applause.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm not going to sing, don't worry. So connecting creativity with community. A lot of what I do with my my work is about creating soundscapes, and I create soundscapes that are often crowdsourced. I like to include people that that are very creative, young people and old people as well. In fact, all community groups, all ethnic groups. I started by building my own synth in God knows when, 73 was it? And that's before I formed the Humour League in Heaven 17. And we do a lot of community projects with people. And I'm very keen to try and make sense and inspire people using sound. That's essentially it. I think sound is an underused, let alone music in education. Sound is hardly taught at all. And one very interesting thing is that in the architectural world, you can be taught for 7 years and you have 1 week of education about sound. Hence, you've got a building like this tonight. In 2012, I did a project called Tales from the Bridge, where we filled the entire bridge full of meaning and narrative about the history of the Thames at that point. And it had 4 million visitors in 8 weeks. And we had lots of people on Facebook saying, please, please make this a permanent installation. And of course, they didn't. And we did a similar thing in Liverpool for commercial reasons. In fact, just won an award last year from a commercial entity called Grosvenor. And this is to actually increase footfall. This isn't just about some esoteric art. This is about creating engagement for people and emotionally connecting with people. And this is what I want to encourage young people to do. I decided to visit Sunderland, as you mentioned, and I'm very happy that you've invited me to become an inspirator in the future. So I'm hoping to do a huge kind of workshop about sound and creativity in the future with you and your children. And I'm proud to announce a collaboration also with Tech Will Save Us, which is all about creating new forms of sound, and it's the interface between the digital world and the real world of digital instruments. Thank you very much.
As Martyn said there, we're forming a collaboration with Technology Will Save Us, who are an incredible East London startup doing incredible things, worked on the microbit, they've got electronic putty, they've got build your own games consoles, and they're here tonight. Inspirators, Dominic Wilcox has flown back from New York this week especially. We're going to hear from Inspirators. The whole idea with Inspirators is they don't just go into school, have their photo taken once, thank you very much, done my bit, move on. We work with them as much or as little as they want to create an activity that they front. We shoot a little bit of video so the parents can watch the video the night before. How many parents in this room would love to sit down and watch a 10-minute film by Martyn explaining how this electronics activity is going to work the next morning in the sand? Couple of people. Anybody? Couple of people. Yeah, that's it. Right. You've got a job, Martyn. The next day, Martyn doesn't go into the school. The parents, the carers, the teachers, the local businesses run those videos. The children watch the videos. They use the activities. They use a £10 electronics kit, a synthesizer kit, the 556 time, which I used to play with as a kid. They use those kits and they make sounds and experiment. We don't need Martyn anymore. Thank you very much. You go back to the Grout Show. We don't need him anymore. And that's the scalability of STEAMco. It's key. A lot of people say, yeah, one guy with a big mouth at the front. Well, that's not true because there's tons of people. But there are 15,000 schools in this country at primary. How do we get to all those schools? How do we get to Marva School? How do we get to Ray's School? How do we get to Sarah Davies schools down in Cornwall? We create a scalable solution. We use the technology, we use the connected community, and we deliver this stuff. So brilliant work. Go and visit the partners. They're scattered around the back there. We've got people from Artists, who are an incredible organisation who put artists into schools on a kind of helicopter them in basis, on a part-time basis. We've got Tech Will Save Us. We've got SSAT. Tom's here from SSAT. They've got a conference in a couple of weeks. We've got the Rotary. I had a very, very sad day back a few months ago. I went to the funeral of my godfather, Uncle Arthur. And the Rotary were a big part of his life. He was a volunteer. He didn't have children. But he still gave a lot in his community through organisations like the Rotary. We're talking to the Women's Institute in Bath. Have a chat with the lady around there. Donna is one of the most inspiring people I've ever met. Again, she's at the top of an organisation, and that inspiration runs through that organisation like blood through its veins. The Raspberry Pi Foundation, Helen's here from the Raspberry Pi Foundation, who now work with Code Club as well, doing incredible work. People like Google, big up the Code Club people and Raspberry Pi. Google backs that. A lot of organizations came together in the way that Microsoft are working with the Microbit team and Samsung and Barclays and Tech Will Save Us. This is a collaborative world. And be sure to check out the Crown House books over there as well. David's come all the way from, is it Llanelli you're at? Is it Llanelli or? Yeah, Cymbraen. Carmarthen, sorry, I know 3 places in Wales I know the names of. I was actually in Cardiff yesterday. Do you know the loveliest Welsh word, which is actually English, so I'll get shot by the Welsh nationalists. The loveliest Welsh word, where's Stephen Roberts? Is he still here? Stephen, come here, you've got to say this. Can we have mic 1 live, please? He's wondering what he's going to say. Big round of applause for Stephen, he's an unsung hero around here.
Sorry, I wasn't listening to any of that.
Right, he wasn't listening to any of that, it's okay, it's not a test. What's that lovely Welsh word? If I show you something, you like it a lot, it begins with F.
Fabulous.
A bit louder into the microphone.
Fabulous.
Isn't fabulous a lovely word when Stephen says it? Thanks for all your help, Stephen. Fantastic. Thank you, fabulous. Go and have a drink, have a huddle. If our speakers could go into one of the little huddle spaces, in about 15 minutes we'll come back and we'll get the rest of the talks going. We're on a bit of a tight schedule, obviously a little bit delayed with a few sort of bits and pieces. Have a drink. I hope you found it useful. I hope you found it inspiring and interesting. We're going to have another 6 or 7 presentations. I can tell you now, I had to pop in this morning to see Professor Winston because he was worried he wasn't going to make it tonight in the House of Lords with duties and business over there. He's not going to be able to make it tonight. I did make a short film. I'm not going to waste your time watching a film. We'll put it on YouTube and you can watch it because it is so inspiring. And do you know what? He said to me 2 things I've got to be very careful saying. I was saying left brain, right. Don't say that in here. That's a load of old nonsense, left brain, right brain. Okay, Professor. I get you. So about creativity, don't say creativity as well. So those are 2 things. They're very rude words in Professor Winston's office. I don't have much left to say. I'll let him do the talking. So I don't know if you've got any walk-in music. In fact, we haven't got walk-in music. I want to have a big round of applause for this bloke. Action Jackson, one of the most inspiring people. The work that Action Jackson does and his team across London and beyond is beyond doubt, beyond belief. You going to play us a tune while we have a drink?
Yeah, why not? Get people participating.
Bit Winfrey for you, mate. Are we going to have a tune or what?
Of course we're going to. Are you ready? Yeah. Turn to the person next to you and say, you're amazing. Yeah. This is about creativity, and this is...
Action Jackson, come on! Huddle.
Just a quick one. Thank you very much for being here tonight. It's amazing. My name's Action Jackson, and I'm sure you know this song that says, I believe the children are our teach them well, help them, lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to. Oh, lovely, look at that. But here's the sad thing, our children are busy on Snapchat. They're busy on Facebook. They're busy on YouTube because they're not busy in life. I believe that one day we're going to have to run a course on how to say hello to a human being because really and truly they're stuck on their phones. No more time around the dinner table anymore. Grab your dinner, go upstairs. Dinner on one hand, phone on the other. My thing is helping them to understand that there's greatness within them. When we go into schools and colleges across the UK, we're trying to get them to pass exams. We say, you know, forget exams for a second. You need to understand that there's greatness within you. You need to understand the value of love, respect, determination, resilience, not giving up too easily. I don't get it. Have you tried it? No. So my thing is all about teaching our children to do a couple of things. And the first thing is to dream big. Everyone say dream big. Now, you see, I did that, and everybody's like, yeah, what's he doing? Yeah, if I was in a primary school right now, the kids would be like, eh. So for a second, we're going to go into that primary school space for a second. You're allowed to do so. We're on the 30th floor at the Barclays building. Everybody's like, oh, look at that, guys. Now, everybody say, dream big. Dream big. Act now. Never give up. You're amazing. See, that's the message we need to drum into their head. So turn to the person next to you. Pretend that you're like 7 years old. Drop your bags. Drop your jackets. Get comfy. Do I have any singers in the room? Do I have any singers in the room? Where are you? I need some backup singers. Jazz, get on stage. There we go. You've got a drum behind you, sir. Yeah, why not? Yeah. Well, okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it don't matter, Marv. So we said, Marv, come sing. She said, I'm not a singer. You don't have to be a singer to be part of this. Yeah.
It's the hair, girls, it's the hair.
So.
Stick with the hair. Jenna's in.
All right, what's the first move? What's the first thing we need to teach our children? Ready, 1, 2, 3.
Dream big.
Now, the bigger the circle, the bigger your dream. Some people are dream big. Dream big, or like, give me room, baby. Dream big. Let's make it happen. What's the first thing?
Dream big.
Second thing, act now. After that, never give up.
Give up.
Why? Because you're amazing. Now we put this into a little song. I'm sure you're going to join me a little bit.
We all know the words. We don't know the tune.
Okay. Dream big, act now, never give up, you're amazing. You're not singing it, come on. Dream big, oh yeah. Act now, never give up, you're amazing. Sing it to someone, go. Dream big, act now, never give up, you're amazing. Come on, say it. Dream big. Act now.
Never give up.
Never give up. You're amazing. Everybody go. Dream big. Act now. Never give up. You're amazing. Now stop. So as you're singing that song, some of you, there was the little voice in your head that says, do I really have to do this? And trust me, if you have that voice in your head right now, times that voice by 1,000.
Professor of creativity.
Because that's exactly what's happening to our young people. Social media nowadays has made it more difficult for them to dream big. Because they're seeing people doing great stuff and they're saying to themselves, I don't think I'm capable. But you haven't tried. I always say to educators, you can't take the young people where you've never been. Don't talk to me about coming outside your comfort zone if you haven't come outside your comfort zone. Don't talk to me about, you got requests? Okay, so what's it? This is 2016, there's cameras everywhere. So here's the key thing. I truly believe that education and greatness is not taught, it's caught. When greatness walks into the room, greatness does not have to announce itself. The very essence of greatness is caught by young people. That's why they're addicted to artists. They're addicted to footballers because they don't question their creativity. They just allow it to flow. So for a second tonight, in this private quarters, let's let ourselves just be free. Just for a second, as we do those crazy, dream big, act now. She's liking it. Come join us on stage. Come. Don't be scared now. Come on, give me a round of applause. All right. Are you ready? Are you ready? Some of you got your hands in your pocket like, yeah. Show me with your hands. Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm loving the jazz hands. I didn't ask for it, but I got it. Are you ready? My ladies, are you ready? I'm taking you lot home tonight. All right, from the top. You know the moves. Be free for a second. Everybody clap. Dream big. Come on. Act now. Never give up. You're amazing. Oh, come on, go. Dream big. Woo. Act now. Never give up. You're amazing. Now sing it to 3 people. Dream big. Act now. Never give up. You're amazing. Woo! Come on. Dream big. Woo! Come on. Never give up. You're amazing. Give yourselves a round of applause. A big, massive round of applause to the Dreamlets. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's so important. we go into schools running workshops on exam skills and revision skills and all the skills they need for school. But we're recognizing the fact that, yes, they need those skills for exams. Right now, I'm on Snapchat, and a lot of them said, I'm stressed with my exams, and I'm trying to encourage them. The other day, I said, does anybody have a prayer request? And they're like, yeah, please, I want to pass my GCSE. But here is the truth. The exam simply, it's a snapshot of their capability at a point in time. The exam result is not a measure of their self-worth. And in this exam season, if you get a chance to talk to a year 11 or year 12 or year 13, just let them know that, hey, just go in there and do your best and forget the rest. And remember, whatever happens, you're loved. You are amazing. And it's so important that we get that message into their hearts, because the future begins in your classroom today. And if you can help them believe that they can achieve anything, and trust me, anything can happen. Yeah, thank you so much for the work that you do. You are amazing. I've got some I Am Amazing badges. So do not leave here without getting one. And Jaz, you can take one.
Thank you very much. I am amazing.
Yes, you are.
Action Jackson, everybody. We know that the timing has gone awry. We love that you've stayed with us. We're going to huddle. These green things, the speakers are going to be hanging out there for 5 minutes. And I promise this time, because I will start in 5 minutes regardless. Find a huggle. Find someone you like. Chat to them. We're going again in 4 minutes and 47 seconds.
So Alison, you're here today at the top of the Barclays Bank.
Look at it.
The 30th floor. We can see the blue skies here this evening. Yep. What is it that made you see something in what Steamco's offering that you saw as a connection with what you're offering back at school?
It's got the A in it. And yes, it's science and technology and all of those things that children need to know if they are going to cope in society as it's developing. But if you don't bring in those arts and the creativity, then it's negligent, I think. If we follow current policy, if you like, where English and maths, where you seem to be clever because you're good at English and maths, then that probably means you're going to have 50% of the children in your school who are going to think that they can't learn, that they're failures because they're not good at English and they're not good at maths. So for us, of course English and maths are important, but it's also it's incredibly important for us to help the children identify what they're really, really good at, and by placing an emphasis on art and on drama and on music and on PE and all of those other subjects, it means that each child will then know what they're really good at, and then they go on to be successful in everything else. So if you're good at music and you are allowed to be good at music and everybody celebrates how good you are at music, you're not going to be frightened to have a go at maths because you won't feel like a failed learner. And so that's essentially what we're trying to do at Northwold School.
I like the fact that it's this hybridity between creativity and the corporate space. So we've got a lot of people here from industry, from the kind of the STEM corporate world. We've got a lot of educators and creators, and I think we do need to have more joined up thinking, more shared vision, that it's not about the education world and the corporate world, it's about us all working together to actually support students in the learning they should be having, because there's that anecdote about some of the jobs they'll be doing don't even exist yet. So we as teachers need to prepare learners for the world. We can't do that without engaging with industry.
I thought it was very inspiring what Lemn Sissay said at the beginning about the monopoly of creativity and arts is not limited to the creatives and the artists, and that places like Barclays Bank are also places where creativity is needed. Did you take anything away from what Ashok said this evening that inspired you or made you reflect?
Oh, it's really interesting. I liked Lem's analogy about like sunlight breaking through, and all the imagery tonight about looking up in this corporate space but seeing this kind of blue space. And I think in education, for me, we need to like wipe the slate clean and start over. And I think there's a lot of things that are done from a traditional kind of habit. We've always done it this way, and I think the education sector can learn a lot from the corporate world. And again, it's about creating that space where that dialogue can actually happen.
I was really drawn to the fact that, Kenneth, you are pretty amazing in the dance world, and there's lots of projects that you support around getting people dancing. Can you tell us a bit about that?
I'm Chief Executive of The Place. We're a contemporary dance organisation based in central London, and we work from some of the youngest people who come through our door, maybe 5 or even younger, and our artistic director is in his late 60s. And so I think in what we do, we're passionate, I suppose, about creativity and the whole journey, the lifelong journey of creativity from the youngest person to the oldest.
And what was it about Steamco that made you come along this evening?
I guess I come here maybe with a number of different hats. I'm on the steering group of the Cultural Learning Alliance, but I guess I know the difference that the arts made to my life, and so I think a lot about the difference they can make to other young people's lives. And I think we've been perhaps living for a little bit too long with this sort of rather false dichotomy of having to choose between arts and science. And I see too many young people. I've met so many young people in the last year who've said they don't feel comfortable about having to choose between arts and science. And, well, at the risk of going on, I read a book when I was quite young by Aldous Huxley called The Human Situation. It was taken from a series of lectures he gave in Santa Barbara in 1959. And within that book, there is a whole chapter on what he calls integrate education. And it's sort of, as if you read it now, it's as potent, I think it's as important and relevant now as when he wrote or said those things. And he talks about specialism and specialists. And it's not that he's decrying the need for specialism. You know, if you or I were going to have an operation, we wouldn't want someone who'd done a part-time evening course in surgery. We would want a specialist. But what he also said was, well, he didn't say that last bit, I said that. But what he said was, the danger is if we don't have the bridge builders, the people who can see the connections between things, the danger is that specialism will continue to reside in its monastic cells. And so I think really we need people who can see the connections between art and science because they understand both, who can see the connection between all sorts of disciplines. And so I think when we think about the range of skills that young people need to thrive and survive in the world we are in now and the world they'll be graduating into when they sort of leave school or university, it's not about having a fixed body of knowledge because that will very quickly go out of date. It's about helping young people to be really creative, entrepreneurial, to have a whole range of skills that we know are often best developed through rich engagement.
I don't know if anybody's wondering what the words are on their badges, but Rachel Snake. I said to Rachel, we need a bunch of random words to go on badges. We don't need surnames, we need Christian names. We need to get some connection going on, we need some imagination. Tony Maloney's coming out. He's got making funny faces, and I can't think of a better one for Tony, not that he makes funny faces. So what Ray did, she asked one child in assembly to think of something very inspiring and whisper it into the ear of another child, and they did it all around the class, all around the assembly, and that's where the 250 words came from. So big round of applause for the Spinney School and Ray Snape's inspiration and her inspiring leadership. I don't want to get too Ken Robinson about this, but one of Ken Robinson's favourite phrases is creativity is as important as literacy. And a lot of people find that quite offensive because they think that devalues literacy. Creativity is as important as literacy. I'm very, very lucky. I gave my advertising marketing career up to work in literacy. So I'm working with a company called Reading Wise who have an intervention to help children learn to read. And through the course of that, I've met some amazing people. And one of the most amazing, after Ray Snape, is the lady you're going to hear from now. I've got no words to describe Marva for the work that this lady does. Anybody who calls somebody like you, or somebody like you, the blob, has no right to be in government as far as I'm concerned, because he's the hardest working people in our education system. Big round of applause for Marva Rollins, who has come out of a governor's meeting to be with us here tonight. Thank you very much, Marva. Blow them away.
Right, good evening, everyone. I have missed my governor's meeting to be here tonight, because what I've done, I've brought my children and my school to you because I'm hoping to do a pitch, because I believe creativity is everywhere. So let's look at starting with the end in mind. That's actually called the Children's University. Nothing to do with SATs. It's about gardening and swimming and athletics and archery, all the exciting things that children do out of the classroom. So starting with the end in mind is about bringing creativity to some of the most deprived children in the country. So this is my school. 56 languages, children from 54 different countries. A really exciting place to be, by the way. We're not a deficit model, we're an amazing model. Yeah, and it's these children that they live in the 10 and 20% poorest areas in the country, but so do lots of other children. And what we're asking for is the opportunity for a STEAM Code Day at our school. We have 880 children. How do you get a STEAM Code Day in Edmonton with 880 children between the ages of 2 and 11? And what we have to do day after day after day is find ways of navigating creatively through poverty. Poverty is with us. It's not going away anytime soon. So at Raynham, that's what we're about. And we have a phrase: our families and our community may be broke, they haven't got as much money as they might want, but they are not broken. And they are very creative in how they manage their lives. I got that from a TED talk, by the way. Broken, not broken. I didn't create it. It seemed like, but I wish I had created it. So really, what we're looking for is possibilities and opportunities. And we believe, listening to everyone who's spoken here tonight, that all of that is in this room, and that all of you are coming to a school in North London very soon called Raynham Primary. And we want a pop-up there, don't we? And because there are, so we're looking for creative partners, and the partners are here. And we want our children, can I have the next picture? We want these children to have, they're all mine, by the way, they represent. And we want these children to have an amazing, amazing, amazing experience as a start. And then we get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we may not get all 880 in at the same time, but let's start small, like 200 or 300. Yeah, and let's do something creative. And I want to finish by reading something to you which is very serious and quite somber. Priorities. I have lots of quotes in my office, and I know my 2 minutes are up, but I'm going to read this. 100 years from now, it will not matter what your bank account was, the sort of house that I lived in, or the kind of car that I drove. But the world may be different because I was important in the life of a child. So friends, I invite you to be important in the lives of my children, all 880 of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marva. Wow. And it's important to note that Marva is amazing, Rachel's amazing, but they're not untypical. There are amazing, amazing teachers in our schools, many, many thousands, millions, and I don't want to sound patronising about it. We heard from Bill Watkin earlier about how policy changes, education policy changes are changing. One person who campaigns and works tirelessly for arts and education from her base up in Northumberland somewhere. I've never even met you before. Tynan Weir. I'll be honest with you, this is actually a highlight of my month, week, year, whatever. Big round of applause for Susan Coles. Come here, you. I have no idea what to expect. I know this is a lady who says what she means, and she means what she says, and I believe in everything she says, so go for it, Susan.
Yesterday on Twitter, Nick and I had a bit of a spat with somebody who called this event a circus. My response was that everybody deserves a night at the circus. I think the reason that you're all here tonight is that you believe in the rationale of this event. You believe in the need to promote creativity, to get the letter A into STEM and to make it STEAM, and to make it a hot, sizzling, all-encompassing STEAM. This ain't no circus. This is a vibrant network, and this is a heartbeat. And in the last decade, the internet has become a tool in bringing communities together. The emergence of social media platforms means that the people formerly known as the audience are now in control. And it is in and through networks that our life is lived in the 21st century. What we hold in our hands, what we hold in our hearts, is the ability to network face-to-face online across the miles and across the former barriers. If we want to advocate for creativity in our places of learning and in our workplaces, we need to connect. There's a definite link between social media and creativity because you have to be interested in the human condition to do either of those. I'm part of a Northeast network. You've heard of the North? Yes. I'm part of a national network, National Society for Education in Art and Design. I'm part of a worldwide network for art education. I have a voice, we have a voice. It's been a strength to me as an individual to be part of big organisations like the NSEAD. We cannot do things alone, right? We cannot do it. We need to find other people. We need to have strong and collective voices. We need to create communities through partnerships that are meaningful. We need to find people who believe in what we believe in, through saying what we can do instead of just sitting around having a whinge. And a network of 2 people is fine. A network of 200, it doesn't matter. Is it enough for you to just come here tonight, or can you go away and do more? Make sure, everybody, that you're well informed. Join organisations, join campaigns, join associations, read and store information. Watch a video, hear a podcast when you're cooking the tea or feeding the dog. Don't just know in your heart that creativity matters. Be prepared to stand up and say why, because social media has become a glue in advocacy, in networking, in sharing, celebrating, showcasing, and bringing people together. You can do a lot more. Write letters, organise petitions, talk to your local councillors, support your local arts organisations, write that blog, phone a friend, make that video, create sound bites online. Get young people to use their voice and write to your MP. Because that's my MP is Sharon Hodgson. Sharon Hodgson helped me to set up an all-party group on art, craft and design education. We meet at least 3 times a year in the House of Commons. That means we influence opinion leaders, policymakers and the public. If you sit in your own little silos and never venture out, you'll achieve nothing at all except contemplating your own navels. So make sure that you get involved. Don't be reactive, be proactive, make connections, collaborate, co-create. Persevere, pester, quiz, question, challenge, call out, advocate, advise, infiltrate, influence, believe and belong. There are 30 people that sit around the cabinet table in 10 Downing Street. There are 64 million people in this country. We've outnumbered them. Let's stand up for our rights, let's stand up for creativity, let's stand up for the broad and balanced curriculum, let's stand up for everything that we believe in. Everybody in this room, you're already standing up, let's stand up.
Susan, brilliant. Over there, that's what I say. Sophie, fantastic, what an inspiration. And as I say, Susan's come all the way down from Martyn Ware, North Tyneside, South Tyneside. There are 2 common denominators in a lot of this, and for me, 2 organisations I think are absolutely fantastic, connecting communities. A lot of people said to me, oh, my audience are teachers. No, the audience isn't teachers. It's teachers, it's parents, it's carers, it's businesses. 2 organisations I think are absolutely amazing. One is Business in the Community, led by, or founded by Dame Julia Cleverden, who's done some work with us and is an amazing, amazing lady. And another organisation that do a lot of work, well, they've made a very interesting comment. Does anybody know who called our schools grim exam factories? Grim exam factories, the CBI. This wasn't a bunch of lefty nutcases. This was the CBI, who are a fairly traditional, conservative, commercially organised organisation. One person I met a couple of years ago, I was at a CBI education conference, I saw their CEO, Steve Holliday, talking, and he mentioned STEM and STEAM, and we had a bit of a chat. Fantastic guy, real visionary. He's committed to the future of skills and talent in his organisation. I'd like to welcome to the stage one of his team at the time, Tony Maloney, who's been a rock to us for the last 2 years. This man has really encouraged, really inspired. Big round of applause, please, for Tony Maloney, who's Head of Training and Skills Development at the National Grid. Thank you.
It's really, really difficult to be here, given all the speakers that I come behind, and I have got nothing as exciting to say as everyone else in that sense. Another perspective, perhaps. So I got posed the question, do employers want creativity? And it's a bit of a no-brainer, really, and I think everyone, yeah. But for most businesses, one of the most important things about creativity is, put simply, I guess, it feeds innovation. And one of the most important things about innovation, really, is the ability to sustain and thrive as a business, to really go into the future. It's not about sitting in your laurels and thinking you've got a product today. And the creativity, particularly for engineering companies, is to try and bring engineering minds and artistic minds together. And it's the creativity bit that binds them together and creates what we would call, genuine innovation that will sustain. So where does this all go, I suppose? It's we've got a strategy called Grow Your Own, which is we bring a lot of our own entry-level talent in, as do Barclays and many other organisations. So all these great people and kids you teach hopefully end up with organisations like us who will try and make the most and be a great place for them to grow. But it's no good doing all this sort of stuff if you don't have a great education outreach program that reaches into schools, and that's where STEAMco comes in for us into primary. But just to give you some stats about what they come into if they come into energy. Over the next 10 years, we're going to recruit about 50,000 people in the power sector, and that's going to compete against the big picture of about 2.5 million in energy overall, in engineering, and 1.8 million of those are going to have specific engineering skills. And then you look at where all the workload is, which is huge. The National Infrastructure Plan announced last autumn by the Chancellor, £411 billion over the next 10 years, and that's 59% of that's energy. So it's huge. So we really do have to kind of find new ways of kind of get kids to think about engineering particularly. It's a huge challenge. Real frustration is that only 14% of females still only taking up physics at A levels. No surprise then that 14% go on to do physics or engineering degree. 8% stay in engineering. 4% get professionally registered. And 2%, interestingly, are in blue collar, which I'm not surprised if you see, Bob the Builder. It's not an attractive proposition for many. So the thing I'd just like to say to you about STEAMco for us is that we, in the education outreach, is getting our people into the classroom to try and inspire kids, to give us a context for STEM, to help see, well, why do I do maths? Why do I do science? Is to really try and make those connections and help you as educationalists and education charities who work with kids in different ways to try and make those connections and to get real role models, particularly with females, to try and get them to see that engineering is probably something for them. There's a vibrant career. STEAMco particularly for us because there's lots of things out there. I know there's lots of STEM initiatives. We support many things. But the thing we liked about STEAMco is the fact that it engages parents. Parents are not only the biggest influencers, they're the biggest dissuaders. If culturally engineering's not for a particular part of a culture, you try and be a young female who wants to be an engineer from a family who really wants you to go into medicine or law. It's a huge standout. You really have to stick out. So those, so working with parents to try and get them involved as part of the education right at the outset is really important for us. So I'd just end by saying that it's important that we all understand that we all have a role and a part to play to try and inspire the next generation and to help them, kids see that they've got a place, and they can contribute to society. So that's where STEAMco comes together for us at primary level. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Tony Maloney there from National Grid. I mean, art, engineering, all these subjects coming together there for Tony and the team.
This is where it gets really, really interesting. When I left university, I did 5 years at university, and I went to the careers department, and I tapped on a computer, little green letters in those days, and it spat 2 things out. It said, be a jet fighter pilot or work in advertising. I didn't want to fly a jet fighter, and I'd never heard of advertising. A little book told me all about it, and I subscribed to Campaign magazine. This is 1985. And I did all my lecture set letterheads, and I wrote my pencil lines and wrote it in and rubbed them out and wrote applications. I got a couple of interviews, and I was offered a position at Yellowhammer at the time. And that's how old it was. And my face didn't fit. I didn't go into it, whatever. The rest is history. But then I got back into it. Robin White is one of the most amazing creative people in the advertising industry, which is full of amazing creative people because they pay big, fat money. That's why they get some bloody good people. Robin White wrote the line, the ultimate driving machine for BMW. Can I have a big round of applause for this man who's doing an amazing amount of work now with young people and kids with the Ideas Foundation?
I've got 120 seconds to tell you about the best idea I ever had. It wasn't the ultimate driving machine. It was about an idea coming out of the aha moment. The aha moment, my first one, was when I was 17. I wrote an essay at school about colour, and people said, how did you think of that? I said, why didn't you? And that led me into advertising. Then, 10 years ago, I thought, if I'd written the same essay, but I'd been an ethnic minority kid, single-parent family, would anybody have noticed? Question, how much creativity is going to waste because it's not recognized and identified? 10 years ago, I set up the Ideas Foundation. We now have a program. These are some of our kids, kids who would never have been found. They're now on a journey, taking them into jobs in famous advertising agencies to work for famous brands. These are the brands who are supporting us. A big hand for all my brands. Come on. Yeah, come on. And National Grid, where's Tony? National Grid is going to be there soon. Tony, you're going to be on this wall soon. But no, we've already got them signed. Barclays have done it 5 times. Let me tell you one example before we, B&Q, these kids, B&Q, these kids, they're given real briefs. How do you get people to do DIY, young kids? They don't do DIY, young kids. You probably know that if you're a parent. These kids from Durham, 2 bright kids, said, well, look, if you want it, you have to come into our world. He said, look, I put up this shelf behind me. I get up my phone. I don't take a selfie. I take a shelfie. Yeah, you got it. That's an aha moment for those kids. They're happening all the time. These 2 are now full-time paid jobs in advertising. They've had their aha moment. We've got 250 kids on our ladder. We're going to make it even better, even stronger. This is a revolution. Please help us make it go even further. Thank you.
Wow. If I was a big advertising brand and I wanted to give my £50 million business to somebody, I'd say, right, you've got 2 minutes to sell it. I don't need the hour of PowerPoint pitch. I don't need all the phone board. You've got 2 minutes. Less is very, very, very much more. Bit of a personal break now, actually. It's never good timing for these events. Today's a very, very special day for me, actually, because it's my son Sam's 13th birthday today. So, happy birthday, mate. He's having a burger. This wasn't considered a cool night out for a 13-year-old, and I can't say I blame him. Action Jackson, Dominic Wilcox, Martyn, doesn't want to know. 2 years ago, on my birthday, BT phoned us up and actually said, do you fancy doing a Steamco day at the top of the BT tower? And I did. And we went down there, and it really was a day of our lives. We took a bunch of children from schools in Bexley and Paddington, and we really had an absolutely fantastic time. And as with BT, BT's business is making connections in this connecting economy. Making connections, connecting people. They connected us with an amazing person you can see on the screen here called Dominic Wilcox. Dominic, an amazing inventor, designer. He's now one of our inspirators. And Dominic created an activity pack that we ran at a school in Cambridge. And one little girl's mother came up to us and said, I did not know my daughter had this in her. That was the Dominic Wilcox Inspiration Activity Pack. Dominic Wilcox was nowhere near. It was run by 3 parents in that school using Dominic's videos, using Dominic's pictures and Dominic's ideas and creativity and inspiration. And that is the scalability of STEAMco. Dominic is one of the most generous people I personally know. He's certainly one of the most creative. He's one of the quietest and one of the nicest. Let's have a big round of applause for Dominic Wilcox, who's come back from New York, especially. Got a microphone? Have a microphone. There you go.
Hello, I am an artist, designer, inventor, thinker-upper, various things. I designed the world's first pair of GPS shoes in 2012, amongst many other things. But anyway, enough about me. In January, I went back to Sunderland, where I'm from, in the northeast of England originally. Originally, a teacher showed me a book of unusual inventions, and challenged me to come up with my own ideas. And I found that I could do it, and I've been doing it ever since. And I decided to do the same thing now, but with many more children. So I returned to Sunderland, and I challenged the children of Sunderland in primary school to think up their own invention ideas. I did 19 workshops in 2 weeks, covered 450 children, got 600 invention ideas. Now what have we got? Next one. Got the children to draw down their own invention. There could be crazy ideas or there could be practical solutions to everyday things. We then asked local makers and manufacturers to make the best ideas into real things. So the makers here gathered from glass, plastics, furniture, fiberglass. The makers chose their ideas that they thought they were interested in making, and then the selected children met with their makers. I've got to be careful how I say that, but so the children explained their idea in more detail to the makers, and then the makers went away and made them. So here's some examples. Family scooter. Made into this family scooter. The colours are exactly the same. This one was a tennis ball that you adjust the speed of the tennis ball and the power. And we embedded some electronics inside a tennis ball there that you can turn, and it changes the speed of your tennis ball. Kai was amazed when he saw this. Like, his imagination made real. Like, ideas can go somewhere and have a power to do that. And that was really inspiring to the children. This one was Charlotte, age 11. She came up with a war avoider. So it lifts your house out of the war zone on wheels with an invisibility blanket. And we made a beautiful model of that at the Fab Lab in Sunderland. And then this one was a little boy, Oliver. He went to my primary school, age 6. He said when he's achieved something, but he's on his own, he has no one to do a high five with, so he wanted a high five machine. So he made this little high five machine, scanned his hand in. We then took over a disused shop in Sunderland High Street. I put my drawings on. I do these invention drawings. And then we showed in an exhibition. We created this exhibition of about 23 of these made objects with the drawings on the wall. The children came, about 1,000 people came. People came who'd never been to an exhibition before, came and enjoyed the children's ideas. I've just come back from the United Nations at the World Summit on Innovation. I got a bigger round of applause here, but no. And I showed the family scooter in the United Nations, which I thought was quite funny. So now, because of the success of that, it's been on CNN and BBC, and it's been such a success. And we're going to launch it as an organization. So we're now designing it as an organization to take this idea to the children of the world. So we're going to call it Little Inventors. And yeah, we're going to try and inspire children in both the developed world and the developing world. We're going to try and reach out to the children who don't even have access to the internet. And we're going to try and inspire them to become the creative, innovative thinkers of our future. Thank you.
That's a boy who makes his mum and dad very, very proud. STEAMco newspaper. We've printed 5,000 of these. Who's going to take a pack of 300 home? Susan, you're going to take 300 home? Or shall I stick them in a courier for you? Gemma's going to have some. I don't want any left here. I'll tell you why I don't want any left here, because in the centre, have you all had a look through this? But last Thursday, after 2 all-nighters, I was in a Costa Coffee on the way to Marva's school, and I thought, do you know what? That is a brilliant centre spread, isn't it? Is that a great centre spread? Save our art schools. We have to save art schools. The big draw steam drawing competition. Last Wednesday night when I went to bed at 4 o'clock, that was the centre spread. And I thought, nah, let's make Mrs. Wilcox's day. Be as proud of Dominic as his mum and dad are, and we are. Display this poster on your wall with immense pride. That is Dominic Wilcox and his stained glass sleeper driverless car on a UK trade and industry poster promoting creativity in Great Britain. Please go home and put this on a wall somewhere, even if you take it down the next day because your wife likes what was under it, or your husband, or whatever. Take that back to your school, take that back to your business, and be very proud to be British, to be very proud of people like Dominic, because his work is unbelievable. And if Little Inventors is anything like the Inventors Project in Sunderland, it's just going to keep going. Gosh. That centre spread, I noticed there's one thing on it, not a typo, a complete omission. Yesterday morning, Susan mentioned I got flamed by somebody on Twitter. I was on a train, I had a load of work to do. Got to bed at 3:30, I had to get up at 5:30 to get a 6:30 train to Cardiff, one of those days. And something came in on Twitter and said, oh, so you're part of the Conservative government's austerity programme to make artists work for nothing. Yeah. And then another organisation got involved. The best thing with these things to do is to ignore it, typically. And then some very influential organisations got involved. It was really worrying. It was very hurtful. It was very sad. And I could see this going out of control. So I had to actually pop some things in. I tend to say what I think, and it offended some people, and I apologise for the offence I caused. And it was a very, very sad situation. Steamco quite determinedly believe one of our visions and values is we are all artists. Seth Godin, in his book Your Turn, that you can get from Crown House there, which inspired me, he says that art is what we call it when what we do might connect people. Art connects. We're all artists, one way or another. And we believe that creatives are people whose livelihood is their art. They deserve to be paid. So when somebody says to me, can you run a Steamco day for me? I say, no, we don't run Steamco days. We provide the inspiration, all the talks today being filmed up, and the resources, PDFs, video clips, sticks rolling machines, connections with local artists, for you to run your own Steamco days. Well, how much is it going to cost me? Well, we tend to budget £2,000 or £3,000. Blimey, that's expensive. How much do you get? Well, we don't get anything. We might have to charge something one day, but we say, if you need creatives in your Steamco days, you have to pay them, and they might charge you £200, £300, £400, £500 a day. If you need a ton of clay, then that's going to cost you £200 or £300. Be prepared to pay for this. Go out and get sponsorship from local companies. Go to your local tyre fitting firm. Go to Sainsbury's. Did you know that most branches of Sainsbury managers are empowered to give you a couple £100 worth of bits and pieces if you're doing a community project? Well, there's a start. It's all out there. And you're going to hear later on from a lady from Bath who saw our talk at the Royal Institution 2 years ago where we launched Steamco, and she went out and ran her own Steam Day. I'm glad she didn't call it a Steamco Day. We'd have got her for that. But no, joking. It's an open source creative idea. And I said, you didn't do that for 100. Is she here? Where is she? Is that you? Yeah. We're going to hear from you later on. And Angie is going to work up. She's going to run a workshop for us in Bristol. This is about inspiring from the top and empowering and engaging people to do stuff on the ground. She reckons she did it for £100 because she begged, stole and borrowed, and that's fantastic. And if some parents in a school are artists or creatives, and they choose to give their time freely to their children's school, or to a school like Marva's that can't afford to pay, they can't afford to go to their parents and say, give us 50 pence, because 50 pence is a breakfast. I'm talking to schools that children, they don't even close for the holidays because the children don't want to go home, so they don't get fed. In Milton Keynes. If those people want to give their time for free, then that's fantastic, but we don't expect it. Last up tonight is somebody who I've got immense respect for, somebody who understands what's going to make Steamco work and what's going to make it fail, because he understands how people think, he understands how people behave, he understands how people work and how their brains work and all this sort of stuff. Can you please, please, please put a big hand together for this chap, Mark Earls, the Herdmeister.
And you're on microphone number 2.
Hello. Hello, good evening. Now, I know what time it is, and I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit knackered. So I'm going to keep this kind of brief, and I'm going to talk to you about, if you want to read books, there are some books, what I wrote. My specialities are around creativity and the application of behavioral and science to understanding and changing people's behavior. If you want to buy one, the nice man has some there, but I wouldn't if I were you. So I'm going to just do this very simply. I'm going to give you a different angle on creativity, because a lot of the discussion and a lot of the assumptions we've got about how creativity actually works, I think are misguided from the work that I've done. And certainly opening this new angle has helped my clients and my readers do some different stuff around creativity and how to promulgate it. It also might help you solve many of the challenges you might be facing. So I'm going to summarize, or if you're going to summarize, by doing something, how people mostly choose to do what they do. A really important skill in human nature. So I'm going to ask you to turn to someone nearby, please. Turn to someone nearby. Actually, turn to them. Organize yourselves into pairs, please. To twos, not threes, twos. And apologies ahead of time if you have, it's a good one. We should have done this up front, really. I want you to do is I want you to hold that person's hands. So in twos, both hands, please. Just for safety's sake. I've done a risk assessment. Okay, so it's a very simple game. And the objective of this game is get the other person off the ground as many times as you can. Very good. Thank you. Oh, my word. Excellent. That's really good. Big round of applause. So the big learning here is something that's very countercultural to us as in our Anglo-Saxon culture. We assume that all human behavior is shaped by what goes on between an individual's ears. But we're unusual. Most other cultures in the world assume otherwise. And in fact, what you've demonstrated is the fact we are a social creature, and our big gift from evolution is the ability to use the minds of other people to outsource the cognitive load. You just did that. You didn't go, what's the best solution to this problem? You just went, oh, that seems all right. They're doing it. It'll be all right. Let's do that then. Some of you, well, let's do it even faster, or one foot to the other. Brilliant. But when we think about creativity, we think about it very differently. We think about creativity as a solo game. We think about it and this makes it harder. It makes it harder for grown-ups, and it's harder for kids. If you imagine that creativity is something that can only happen in here, you know, that's very often the way that our gestures describe creativity. Something going on in here. Ooh, ooh. If you're a grown-up, you might sit at your desk late at night, drinking coffee, thinking, oh, there's another idea. Oh, not quite right. And that gripping your forehead is a really sort of memorable gesture on that. But creativity isn't mostly like that. Creativity is mostly using the brains of other people. And if you start there, if you start using what other people have already done, then you start to find creativity much, much easier. If you're a poet, for example, you might find yourself agreeing with T.S. Eliot. He says, essentially, it's not if a great poet copies, it's how they copy that distinguishes a great poet from a mediocre one. If you're Grayson, Alan Measles on Twitter, originality is people with short memories. There's all this stuff, he says, lying around. Why don't you start with that and then see what you can do with it? Don't isolate yourself and think it's all got to come out of here. You might have seen this story in the press a couple of weeks ago. This is how a Cardiff hospital neonatal unit had borrowed from Formula One. In fact, they borrowed from this lovely man at Great Ormond Street Hospital. This is Martyn Elliott, who 10 years ago transformed infant cardiac surgery and the practice of cardiac surgery around the world by having McLaren and then Ferrari change the protocols in there and reduce human error counts by 42% overnight. Look, creativity isn't something you do on your own. You do it with other people. You do it with ideas that have already been had, with stuff that other people have got out there. And the further away you copy, the better. That's why Martyn Elliott's thing is so exciting. That's why he can solve problems that way. Think about creativity this way. You're not on your own. You've got a crowd of people, not just around you, but a crowd of people behind you, people you've never met. That's what makes us humans so powerful. All that stuff in culture, other people's knowledge, embedded somewhere. You don't even need the internet for it. We learn somehow. And you're not on your own. You don't have to do this. Oh, where is it? I was very sad earlier this year when this man died. He shaped my sort of teenage years and my tastes and so on, and I'm sure many of you sort of feel the same way. His genius was in his ability to take other people's stuff and make it into amazing new stuff. Whether it was their work, like he took the Wild Boys novel of William Burroughs and turned that into Ziggy Stardust, which is the first time I ever really got exposed to his way of doing things, or taking Burroughs' own technique of cut-ups to create random stuff. He continued copying and recycling and making new stuff from old stuff right to the very end. So ask yourself, when you think about creativity, when you're talking to people about creativity, when you're trying to teach creativity, think about it not as an individual skill, but as something that brings us together, because it links us with every other human that's ever existed. And the further away you look, the better. Like Martyn Elliott and Great Ormond Street Hospital. Formula One and medicine? Of course. Why not? That's interesting. And that's also likely to be more powerful than looking at his peers. So, but rather provocative to what Nick's been saying repeatedly all evening, I think that we should be teaching our kids, yeah, coding's all right. Copying's far more important. Teach them to copy well. Thank you very much.
And Mark just displayed that classic creative trait there of completely shooting himself in the foot and wondering why he's never got any money by saying, don't buy a book off the bloke in the corner. Ridiculous. Mark's got a fantastic book out at the moment called Copy, 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 which you absolutely must go and buy. That does just about wrap it up. There's a couple of things I just wanted to say in there, actually. Very, very, very sad that Professor Winston wasn't able to make it. Very sorry. I popped down to see him today. But do you know what? He's made a film, that's great, fantastic guy. What's really important is that there are 3 people from Imperial College here today. Are they around? The 3 students, have they come, have they gone? Yeah, that's right, the back there. These guys are part of a project at Imperial University, Imperial College, called the Hackspace, which is a department within a university that sees collaboration across every different vertical department in that university. And not only within that university, to your place, the Royal College of Art as well. So they collaborate across the Imperial College faculty departments and also into the Royal College of Art. They've got a course called the Interactive Design Engineering course, IDE course, which is about collaboration. Fortunately, they're physically close. They had an Imperial Festival the other week, which was better than anything I've ever seen at the Big Bang, because there were students there. If you go on our website, you'll see a guy, Christopher Clough, from Cambridge. He's one of the most passionate educators I know. He's a brain science student at Cambridge University. Couldn't be here tonight, so here's to you, Chris. We'll see you at the next one. Fantastic people who are dying to engage with community, to inspire children. Jeff Mulgan of Nesta and Matthew Taylor of the RSA are doing talks at the moment about universities. Jeff Mulgan's is called Universities Useful and Useless. The and is quite polite and politically correct. I'd have put an or in there. Because universities, you can get a degree from Harvard for nothing, or $20 if you want a certificate. It's all up in the air, this dissemination of information nonsense. What is the role of society? What is the role of universities in society? Possibly helping us out on a Wednesday afternoon would be a start, but that's what we're talking about, and that's why we're so excited that the students of tomorrow are here. Robert Winston's busy in the House of Lords, and that's his role in society. So thanks to those guys. A big round for the Imperial guys, actually. I think it's absolutely fantastic they've come along. Can't thank everybody enough, the team behind this. Amazing bunch of people who come together. We've got Ray, Snape, Jaz, Kat, Bryn, Pam, Jenna, who popped up from there. Turns out Jenna was a shoker, and then she's now working at a school just at the end of the road from me, Paddington Academy. Hannah's just amazing. Hannah's got a big teach meet coming up at Excel, which is going to be fantastic. She's gassing with Tony over there. And Vicky, who's a friend of hers, and Susan, who came down specially. You know, just an amazing team come together. We've got Amy Hodgson here, who's going to do some improv. Amy, do you want to do a bit of improv now? Is that, or do your talk? We're back in the shopping mall with Fatboy Slim. Number two.
Number two, thank you. If I can have somebody to come up to the front very quickly and be my partner, that would be wonderful, thank you. We're going to do a very quick uplifting activity called Dutch clapping. It's not contagious, don't worry. To start with, there are 3 moves that you can throw in this game. One is to stretch up high, one is to stretch out to the right, one is to stretch out to the left. And in between times, you have to slap your thigh. So you could do slap and up, or slap and left, or slap and right. You do it opposite your partner. So for example, like this. If you go to a different direction with your partner, doesn't matter, carry on. If you go to the same direction as your partner, you celebrate with a high 10. Okay, and you do it as fast as you can. So it should look something a bit like this. Oh my gosh, ready? So that was Dutch clapping. Please take a 5-minute break. I think we're coming back in a little while.
That's a good game. So the teachers are taking over. And right up now, we've got Sam and Sabina from Imperial College, who are going to do a tight 2 as we hear it.
Hello, I'm Sam Cryer. I'm from Imperial College. I'm doing a PhD in chemistry. And
I'm Sabina Weiss. I'm studying Innovation Design Engineering at Royal College and Imperial College.
we were part of a project called Sensorium, which took 30 different students from 11 departments across 14 countries and 14 disciplines, and then created an interactive art installation to combine all of these different departments.
So we hope to create a space which would be representing a journey one student takes through their experience at Imperial College. So it's starting with a great complexity, as you can see it in those modular structures, that is taking you through a bit of a mystery to simplified modules, and in the end you have a moment of self-reflection as you end your journey, and this is represented by this interactive panel.
So the panel required a lot of different engineers, electrical engineers, designers, people to come together to imagine it, civil engineers to actually build the thing, because it was 5 meters wide by 2 meters tall, and it mimicked the person in front of it.
And what we decided to use is very simple components commonly used in art and science lessons. So you can see here little connectors used in building atomic structures in chemistry, as well as art straws used in art classes.
And so the way we ran the whole project was to start off by kind of building ideas, brainstorming, running workshops, and quick prototyping. So we were really able to take something and say to the engineers, hey, can we change the outline from having it full body to something else? Is that really difficult? Could that be possible? And they'll go, oh yeah, it takes 2 seconds. It'll be like a line of code and we can change it. So having this really quick back and forth prototyping between designers, engineers, electronics guys was something really valuable.
So we'd like to just end it by saying what you can take away from it, which we learned from this experience is to have a cross-disciplinary approach to work, and creativity really works fantastically, and you have a lot of unpredicted outcomes, but it's worth risking and challenging yourself, as the cross-pollinating of ideas is just great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Intelligence and technology all together. Next to the stage, Nikki from Home Ed is going to talk without her slides. She's just said to me, I'm not that interesting, I'm just Home Ed. And so that means to me, we need to hear what she's got to say. So give her a round of applause. Go, Nikki.
I was just going to take 2 minutes just to share with you what, I might cry, that's ridiculous, what STEAMCO yeah. What STEAMCO means to me personally and as a Home Ed mum. So I chose to Home Ed my boys because I wanted a slower, less stressful childhood for them as well as education. And it gave us the chance to really follow their interest, to share my interest, to take that time to meet the experts who really, who really inspired them in their developing passions. I see myself more as a curator of their learning experiences now, not a teacher. And I run a local Home Ed group, so that role still extends there. And I've got some lovely people who help me here as well. So when we met Nick and talking about doing a STEAMCO day, it really fitted well with our ethos behind what we do. So it gave us a chance to, a framework, an opportunity for the people in our community to really share their skills and talents with each other, share them beyond their family. Which was really lovely, and it was really nice to be able to make everyone in our community feel valuable and valued, because they don't always get that voice and don't think it's that important. It was also really lovely to see the inspiration going both ways. One of the dads had made a program for the Xbox Next where the children made music by dancing, and actually he was so excited afterwards seeing how enthusiastic the kids had been, seeing how they danced, to really carry on with that project. What happens next? Also, I think as a Home Ed work community, we really have to rely on each other, I think more so than school. I think although Home Ed doesn't necessarily have a bad reputation, it has a very suspicious one. And when I try and get workshops to come in, they're a bit hesitant because we're Home Ed. But it's because of that reliance on each other, we're really a tight-knit community and really willing to share what we've got. And actually, we're a really diverse group of people with very different backgrounds and interests and experience. The other thing I think that is really important in education and in schools and in learning spaces is the fact that it's a mixed age group thing. Everyone in that community should be able to be that. And our STEAMCO Day really enabled us to do that. We had grandmas and aunts and uncles and babies all making and creating and learning together, which was really lovely. And I think the other thing for me personally with Nick is the fact seeing his passion and his enthusiasm. I've got my feet in different education camps. I was an early years teacher, so I'm still involved in school, and then obviously Home Ed. And I think the real thing with Nick is in STEAMCO is it joins the dots. I had a great Amanda Palmer quote who talks about being an artist is about joining the dots and about sharing those connections. And I think that's really good. I think we're all aiming for the same thing, but we all say our things in our own little groups. And actually it's really important to have an overarching something that keeps us all on track and helps us do that. So, there you go.
So we really are running out of time. We have to be out of here at 10. So when the last speaker comes off the stage, it's cues for the lifts. I'm really sorry. What's next, Jazz? It's all yours. Amy.
Hello!
Amy.
It's me again!
No, it's not you. Yes, it is.
I'm Amy Cook-Hodgson, and I am a teacher and an actor and an improviser, and I run a business called Impro Clinic, and I'm here to tell you very briefly what I do and what I truly believe in. I have been training and teaching performing improv for about 10 years. For those of you who don't know what improv is, it's basically made up on the spot theatre. It's disposable theatre, and I have such a passion for sharing that with young people because it had such a huge impact on my own personal life when I began learning the art form itself. I'm going to be catching up with the slide because it's moving. There are 3 main benefits to improv in school, and I really think that schools should be putting this on the main curriculum. It encourages collaboration. You let go of judgments of yourself and of other people's ideas. You become a better listener. And if we can make sure that our children are all of those 3 things, they can be successful in any field that they apply themselves to. A key thing in improv is the phrase yes and I want you to just turn to somebody next to you and say the words yes and. Yes and. What that means is that you have said yes to the thing that someone has said to you, and you're saying and adding your bit of information to whatever it is. So in classrooms, I would practice that as a conversational tool, saying yes and building on it. Improv teaches you to see every offer as a gift, not a problem. They're not issues or obstacles to overcome, but ideas that other people come to you with are offers. They're gifts, and something that I'm trying to change children's ideas about, so that they're not freaked out by stuff, but see things as wonderful things to build upon. Improv is not just drama games. Drama has been squashed out of our curriculum horrifically, but improv is just more than that. It's an attitude and an approach to working as a team. And if we can build these games and activities into all of our lessons, science, maths, English, history, don't really care what the subject is, if we can underpin all of those subjects with this creative approach, then we can be much more effective as teachers and as students learning. Last slide, I think, if it'll change. Please change. Yeah! In improv, before you go on stage, there's one important thing before you start your show. You turn to your teammates and you say, I've got your back. It's not about stand-up comedy. It's not about having the funniest thing in the room. It's about making sure that you make your teammates look amazing. And if everyone's making each other look amazing, then you too will be taken care of. It's a group activity. Turn to somebody nearby and say, I've got your back. I've got your back. Thanks ever so much for listening, and be creative.